Hello again, my immortal nerds. Last patch wasn't that big. Or was it? In fact, there was some balancing happening, which has a huge impact on our best class, the Barbarian, in PvP. Spartusk cooldown, general damage reduction, Wrath sprint activation, really cool stuff. Let me show you how a Barbarian tank could look like, and that some forgotten gems and reforges might still be worth it. Let's play. Get ready for some infos on patch notes, a build overview for tanky PvP, some Spartusk insight to get an idea if it is still worth it, and a deep dive into the Wrath of the Berserker mechanics. We will take a look into a proper tank gem setup and reforges as well. But first of all, we take a look into the current battleground and the relevant patch infos that makes us talk about a possible Barbarian tank setup. So when we see what have they done, they send us the patch notes for Rite of Exile and Battleground changes, which means damage dealt by players in Rite of Exile and Battleground will be reduced by 50%, previously 40%. This means we gain 10% damage reduction. And this overall is very important for our Barbarian and overall melee classes to stand in the idle. So what do they say? Developers note, we reduce the damage dealt by players in previous content updates, but continue to observe instances of excessive damage since. Increasing the damage reduction to 50% should address this issue and provide a more balanced experience for everyone. So damage stays the same, but damage reduction is good for us and let us survive longer. This is the base to talk about tank and what does tank mean for Barbarian. First of all, gems. There are plenty of gems that help you to get tanky, like a Spiteful Blood, a Frozen Heart, and so on. But one of the best gems here is a long forgotten one, the Battleguard. This one let you take more damage into battle. Yes, the effect is strived, but we still get an 8% damage reduction overall, or 8 to 10%, whatever, out of it. And this is huge when we add it to the previously already granted 10%. So base gem to get tanky. Next essence is good because it lets you heal a lot. It's a Roar of Persuasion, the Wrath mode where you get damage, a life leech for every damage you deal. So another cornerstone for a tanky build. Next one, shields. Shields are important. So familiar shields, the new Paragon effect, Benefactor it's called, that gives you a shield, Warden and so on, but the sets are core. The Mountebank 4-piece set to give a huge shield whenever you need it. And lastly, reforges. So when we look at reforges, we want damage reduction, and Jolt is giving us the damage reduction. It's an unstrived damage reduction against players and a general damage reduction to damage. So Jolt is helping us to stay alive even longer, and it has a nice passive to deliver some stuns. And in addition to that, the gem resonance is a very important development plan to go there. So when you have your gem at rank 5 or high, you can go into the gem resonance, and here you can now select additional gems that support you. Starting from 20 points and then 10 points and then 30 points for those 2 stars, you can achieve additional damage reduction effects. I know it takes some time, but I like it because maybe you build a lot of gems in the meantime and they're lying around because you think I cannot use them anymore. That's what's the case for my stuff, because I cannot test out everything and recraft my gems every time. So I keep them and I can put them in here into the gem resonance now. And if you don't have it, the first stage, the 10 points, is easy to achieve. The 30 points takes more time, definitely. But Pain Clasp is offering here the same bonus as the Battleguard. So both are really good to get those 2 and overall 4 additional perks of damage reduction. This helps you a lot to stay alive longer. And if you're anyway into melee and tanky classes and you're switching around between it, especially Crusader and Barbarian, then think about investing into reforges that fit that setting. Jolt is a very good option here. The Jolt, you can you can configure, or one of the best setups is to go into the duration of beneficial effects anyway. You need that anyway. Then damage taken while suffering loss of control up to 4%, and damage taken from players reduced by 1%, so unstrived. It's pretty cool, and it gives you another 10% at least, and then let's go for 10 to 15% while you are under loss of control. So 25% damage reduction from Jolt in PvP. This is pretty big and helps you a lot. When you are attacked, you have a 2% chance to trigger a counter attack that immobilizes the enemy that attacked you. So with 8 times the Jolt equipped, it gets a very low cooldown, like 8 to 9 seconds or something, and is triggering pretty often. It's a total loss of control, so you can use a chip and can make it a nice combo for escapes, for anything, to just immobilize the range damage dealers or something, to give you new possibilities. So effect is nice, damage reduction is nice. We as Tank-Plays, we go with it. So how does a build around that tanky setup looks like? For essences, Kruber's Sneer is good. For our Wrath to give us additional crit chance, we have the Roar of Persuasion for the Life Leech and the Falling Thunder to deal additional damage while we deliver a bleed. How do we deliver a bleed? By 2 options. First, we go with the Lesser Rate with the Rending Bite. Secondly, we go with the Borrowed Might now. So we go with Cleave. Cleave again. Cleave passive with the Skull mod. So Skull mod, again, additional damage, but for your whole party now. It's a cool thing when you stand in the idle and pull enemies with the Shackled Fate, and the Buried Talons with the Chain Spear to yourself, dealing another effect of additional damage. So we have 20% from the chains, we have nearly 30% from the Falling Thunder, and we have the Skull mod with 35%, which means, what does it mean? 50, 80, 85% additional damage in PvP. This is very cool and makes you a little damage monster, but you have no CC immunity, you have no charging effect or anything, so you stand there and everyone that gets pulled to you dies. But everyone that gets not pulled to you is a problem. So that's why Jolt is very good. Okay, for the Paragon we go with the Brawler, the Warden, it's called Warden now, with the increased size, with the shield, with the damage reduction, anything. And you can decide if you go for the Benefactor to get another shield, or that every 30-second AoE attack, whatever helps you, because damage means Roar of Persuasion can give you Life Leech. It's nice as well. Good. Sets, 4-piece Mountebanks is a must in the setup. We have 4-piece Vithus or 2-piece Vithus, 2-piece Banquet. If you go for more damage and you think you can move more freely, then you can go with the 4-piece Vithus. If you say, okay, I'm fully passive, I'm in the idle, I'm stun locked anyway, the Banquet will help you more. The chains will get affected by the Vithus, but yeah, it's not that critical because the chains itself is not dealing that huge amount of damage. Gems, next. Battleguard, very good. Frozen Heart, very good. Pain Clasp, very good because it combines our damage plus tankiness with the resonance gems that you can put in there to get another damage reduction. Spiteful Blood is very nice because it lets you stay alive even longer. And what's really good in that combination is the Starfire. You pull someone to you, then the Starfire hits, it knocks or holds it at that place, which is very beneficial for your playstyle here overall. Then lastly, for our counter tank, that's how I call it, the Wrath AoE attack is very, very nice. So farm that eternal equipment stuff. Everyone who comes near you will die. That's the main idea in here, and you stay alive. Okay, in that build, there is no Spartusk. There's no Flickerton with hammer or anything. Am I crazy? No. Of course, those builds are valid. They are still good. Okay, don't get me wrong. This is an additional build for your setup, and this might suit some of you very good and others maybe not so good. They want to deliver damage. This one is a passive one, idle pusher build, and yeah, it can work through many resonance ranges. Some lower resonance might think I'm not tanky at all even with that setup. This might be true. Test it out if it fits you. Start with the sets. They can be found pretty quick. If you see, hey, that's going for me, it's working, try to equip your first level 5 gems that as well supports you in that tankiness. And if you think that works out, then go with it, okay? It's, again, not for everyone, as all of the builds are not for everyone. Okay, but Spartusk. Why no Spartusk? Because in this case, we want to talk about the nerf that it received. It received a cooldown reduction from 12 to 25 seconds, but a longer stun from 2 to 3 seconds. This means what they explained it's more strategic now. You cannot spam it. You need to use it wisely. When the Barbarian, the enemy Barbarian, is really in his undying rage, you need to focus on that. When the enemy Crusader is pushing his shield for the damage immunity, when the Tempest is really just hopping around and getting more and more shields, and you need to slow him down. So then you can use it, and it's, because of that, still very valid. Our Spartusk is mainly used in 2 different combinations. In a Bergbreaker, Shackled Fate, counter-attack kind of way. So you're running around, you're pulling the enemies with the Spartusk, you're pulling them into your Bergbreaker with the chains, and then just be a meat grinder who smashes them to death. So that's still a very valid build. It works. I think it is the current meta, and it still works. Definitely, you need to use it wisely. On the other hand, the Flicker Tone with the Renated Rage is still a thing. So going with a sprint build on the hammer that includes a Spartusk, very, very good. You see, in both, we don't have any CC immunity. Even not in the tank build, we have a CC immunity. CC immunity gets a bit more into the direction of unrelevant, because as soon as you go into the CC immunity, your damage will be very low. The point is the helmet of the crit chance or the pull and the debuff and everything you can do there, even the Undying Rage helmet, the Ancestor Steely that lets you stay alive in Undying Rage even longer. All of those have a purpose, but the CC immunity, it doesn't give you any damage or benefit that much. You can run around, definitely you will die less, that's a good thing. And if you're a heavy dot spreader, the CC immunity might be as well very valid. So for the lowest and the highest resonance, CC immunity is good. For everyone in between, I would say go with one of those builds. But yeah, make it fitting for your playstyle. This is just idea stuff, okay? What you should do if you go for Spartusk, if you stick with a Spartusk build, take the cooldown reduction that you can get from the Awakening. And then it gets valid again, okay? The cooldown will go down that much that you can play with it. Still, you need to use it wisely. Now, they sneaked in another change in that patch. And I was really curious because I haven't seen it, or at least it didn't come to my mind that they changed it. And then I read it in some Discord from Inve. He's a whale on my server, pretty cool guy for the community. He wrote, "Hey, Craine, have you seen, or is there anything I'm missing, that the Wrath of the Berserker doesn't need an activation for the movement speed bonus anymore?" And I was like, what the fuck? Really? Tested it out, and yes, it is like this. The Wrath hidden sprint is not hidden anymore. It gets activated automatically. No crazy primary attack needed anymore. You don't need to go into a wall build to make it more fluent or lead build. It's just there, and it works nicely. So really cool thing for our whole open world farming, Erebon, Abyssal, whatever experience, that we can just move faster for free. So Wrath is working better, but there are still many different essences to change the effect of our Wrath of the Berserker. And many of you are asking me, what should I use? What is best in PvP, in PvE? What is the purpose or the benefit of each of it to get the max out of my setup I have here, out of the style I am playing? So we have 3 candidates, I think, that are most important to look at. The Sundered Legacy, which gives that burn. We have the Roar of Persuasion for the leech. And we have the Bergbreaker with that great AoE damage every 0.3 seconds. So what is each essence good for? When we look at the burn, you need, in PvP, okay, we're in PvP now, you need a high potency to make it work. That means you can use your Wrath as a dot spreader. If you go as a higher resonance with a lot of dot gems in here, it helps you to deliver that dots. If you are having a Vipers in place, okay, a Vipers can do that as well, but keep in mind that a Vipers effect is off pretty fast, and if you are playing against same resonance stages, higher resonance stages, you need to wait then a lot of time until the Viper effect is back on that single player. So higher resonance players will work off that Vipers fast, they don't get any new additional dots from you, and this is where the Wrath of with the Sundered Legacy kicks in, because it's reapplying that dot again and again and again, and reapplying all of your gem effects and everything. Okay, that's why I think the Sundered Legacy is pretty good in PvP for killers. The Roar of Persuasion with the Leech. Yeah, what does it do? Every time you deal damage, you get that 20%, I think, life leech from your damage, which is not a lot in PvP. If you're a low resonance player and you know you're not dealing that heavy blasts, you're dealing a 10k damage and then you get 20% of it, so you get 2k HP. This is like nothing, okay? So again, you need a high armor penetration to play this. You does not necessarily need to be a high resonance player. You just need enough armor penetration for the battleground rank or the current player level you're into to deal enough damage that the life leech is worth it. If that is the case, if you have enough armor penetration, then this is very good for tank builds because you are healing. And even in your Undying Rage, you're healing twice as much. Undying Rage is healing and that Roar is healing, and you get like full HP again. This is working pretty good. And in addition, you get some higher crit chance, which is good for the whole damage buckets you have. It's a nice thing for tank builds. Third, Berg Breaker. It's of course damage focused, so you hit a lot of enemies around you. Some might have a better, some might have a lower armor than your armor penetration, so you will deal damage anyway. Maybe worth some not that much, but others do get hit. You can pull them with the chains into your Berg Breaker range. So it is roundish. It's good for everyone. Dealing damage and being able to deal damage, to be that little meat grinder in the middle that just hacks and slay everyone. It is an essence that all around works for nearly everyone, okay? If we look now into PvE, we have a big change in the Sundered Legacy. Sundered Legacy now gets, for fast content, very relevant because it has a better cooldown than all of the other essences. So if you have a low beneficial effect duration in anything, the Sundered Legacy is very good for you because it's just active like 100% without much additional essences or cooldown reductions. So for open world, Abyssal, Ereban and so on, this one is pretty good because you're running past enemies, applying your dot and dealing damage. So you don't have to wait for the enemies, don't have to stand there, pull them or anything. The Roar of Persuasion, on the other hand, is not that good when it comes to damage itself, but it helps you in tough content, where you need HP, where you need to heal. It's a perfect healer. When you look into Vanguard or any challenge rifts, there a Roar of Persuasion helps you a lot. Every player through every rank, low, high resonance, whatever, this essence helps you to stay alive. Third thing, Berg Breaker. This one is not good, not very good. For the open world, it can work in some wall combinations, very good, okay, but for classic primary attacking, you're not standing there primary attacking too much and waiting them for the Berg Breaker to proc, you're just running past everything. So this one is for rank content. Raids, dungeons need to deliver a huge amount of damage to be relevant or to compete with other players. So here Berg Breaker comes in, especially with that shoulder for primary attacks for the Wrath that deals damage to you, or for Whirlwind build with a fellow field that deals damage to you to trigger it yourself. Okay, this essence needs to be combined with the essence that deals damage to yourself, and then it works pretty great. Overall tankiness is pretty cool, helps us to win more battleground matches and turns us a bit into that classic role of a barbarian. I like this setup very much, and I bet there are a lot of guys out there tweaking it into their personal best solution. Next week, new essences should drop, and I'm very curious what they will give us. Tell me your most required or your most wished for essence for the Barbarian in the comments. I will put a poll with the most mentioned essences out, and then we can see how good we understand the developers of Diablo Immortal next week. Have a great day, guys, and see you on Battleground.